It didn't take long until Shadow and Katarina made their way to the throne room, or what was left of the throne room because it was deteriorated after Lavinia escaped from the Cat Kingdom. "What is this place?" Shadow asked. "I remember a bit of this room," Katarina said. "Lavinia showed me this around this kingdom until Dad took over the entire kingdom." Suddenly they heard a voice saying, "For your information, this is the throne room." They turned around and saw Joseph's minions, Marcus, the cat sisters, Katie and Jessica, and Samantha. "Oh no," Katarina said. "Not them." "Well, well, well," Katie said. "If isn't our old friend Katarina. And who that gothic freak with you?" Samantha said coldly. "Excuse me?" Shadow exclaimed. "I'm not gothic. I am Shadow the Hedgehog." "Shadow, calm down," Katarina said, putting her hand on his shoulder. "Well, Shadow the Hedgehog," Marcus said, "allow us to introduce ourselves." He took out his sword and then bowed before saying, "My name is Marcus the Cat. I am Joseph's swordsman. My name is Katie. I am the leader of the army, besides our boss Joseph the Cat," Katie said, performing her gymnastic skills. "And I'm Jessica, the brains of the army," Jessica said, reading that book. "And this is Samantha, our little sister, the feisty one at that." "What is that to ya?" Samantha said, crossing her arms. "That's nothing new," Katarina said. "And you've got a problem of how we introduce ourselves?" Samantha yelled. "You need to calm down, Sam," Katarina stated. "You're nothing like my sister's boyfriend. And don't you dare call me that stupid name again," Samantha demanded. "And wait," Jessica added. "And did you just say your sister had a boyfriend already? I thought I was her boyfriend," Marcus argued. "Lavinia and I are designed to be together forever." "Well, it is more likely," Katarina whispered towards Shadow, who looked in the confusion. "But that's besides the point," Marcus said. "A little birdie told us that you escaped from the dungeon," Katie said. "As a punishment, we have no choice, Katarina, but to turn you to stone," Jessica explained. "What?" Katarina gasped. Marcus pointed the staff at Katarina before saying, "Say goodnight, Katarina the cat." As the spell was beginning to be cast, Katarina closed her eyes and looked away, bracing herself for the worst. "Katarina!" Shadow shouted before he jumped right in front to cut to Cat to shield her from the magic. Just then a flash of light, followed by smoke. As the smoke cleared, Marcus the cat and the sisters were shocked at what they saw. Katarina slowly opened her eyes, and she was shocked to see what was in front of her. "Shadow!" she screamed. She immediately ran towards her boyfriend and saw that he was turned to stone. "Oh my chaos!" Katarina cried. She tried her very best to fight back the tears. In the heartbreak, Katarina felt the psychic sense told her a minute or two. "Lavinia?" she asked suddenly. She's... She began to sink down the floor and cried eyes out. "No!" Katarina cried. "It can't be! It just can't be! Lavinia's dead!" She was mourning over the loss of her eldest twin sister. As they took them notice of the cat minions who had began to mock Katarina over deceased sister. "Oh, my dear Lavinia," Marcus said dramatically. "I knew her so well." "Yeah," Katie joined in. "She got what she deserved. I thought she'd never leave," Jessica stated. "Take that, Lavinia," Samantha mocked. "Your sister couldn't help you. Besides, she's only, Amid the mockery, Katarina stopped crying and began to growl. Her grief then turned into anger. "You," she said coldly. She turned her head to her former friends. "This is what it comes down to." When she got up from the floor, Katarina's eyes turned yellow to red. "Ever since Mom was sick, you treated me and my sister like used dolls," she said, gradually raising her voice. "Like one day you would love us, and then the next day you wanted nothing to do with us, and with you and your selfish, ignorant king took over everything that was important to my sister. Lavinia was everything to me, and she was my big sister, and you made her life, including mine, a living nightmare. You will pay for all of this!" With all the rage mounting up, Katarina's fur and skin changed into a different shades of red, letting out a scream. She had unleashed her own rage form. "What in the world?" Jessica gasped. "Come on, girls," Katie said. This is nothing. Let's get her." Without any hesitation, the cat sisters dashed towards Katarina to take her down. But this angry cat kicked Katie in the stomach, slapped Jessica across the face, and used her hair to toss Samantha to the statue knight, knocking down over in the process. After witnessing his fellow minions being outmatched by Katarina, Marcus took a look at her, fear in his eyes. However, shook the fear off and took out his sword. "Not bad," Marcus said, "but I bet you can't take me and my trusty sword down." As a hurricane, Marcus ran towards the room and approached Katerina with hopes to control the situation. Right when he was about to swing his sword at her, she summoned a shield to block his attack. "I see," Marcus said. "You have the same powers as your sister." "She was not the one to be trifled with," Katerina explained. "Neither am I." She sent Marcus flying across the room, causing him to land and knock over the grandfather clock. Just as everyone was getting up, Katie discovered that her body was glowing. "Guys, my body's glowing!" she exclaimed. Jessica made the same discovery by saying, "Strange, so is mine." "What's going on?" Samantha asked, as she also noticed her body was glowing as well. Seeing this, Katerina was confused by this outcome, but then she saw that her necklace was glowing as well. "My necklace," Katerina said. "It's glowing." She was even more confused when she heard Taka's voice telepathy communicating with her. "This necklace brings you protection," Takela explained. "Use this necklace to seal the souls for those who you did wrong." Katerina then looked at her so-called friends, who ultimately baffled by their bodies glowing. She then looked down at her necklace and nodded her head. She knew exactly what to do. She stood up and held out her necklace and said, "Katie, Jessica, and Samantha, as punishment for abandoning us as Mother was sick and disrespecting Mother after her death, making my sister's life a living nightmare, and disrespecting my sister, you shall all be banished from existence." The Cat sisters began to feel that they were about to be sucked into Lavinia's necklace. They tried their best to fight it by running towards Marcus, who was just about to make his escape from the arranged cat. "Come on, girls," Katie shouted. "Go to Marcus." As they tried to keep up with their sister, Samantha and Jessica were swirled around in Katerina until they were inside the necklace. Grabbing onto Marcus's hand, Katie witnessed her sisters being sealed from existence and began to worry for her life. She then felt their grip was starting to get weaker and weaker, as the power of Katerina had gotten so strong that the pink cat could lose grip on her given that moment. "Marcus," Katie begged, "please help me." "I would," Marcus said calmly, "but I'm afraid I can't." "What?" Katie gasped. "Goodbye, Katie, my love," Marcus said, letting go of the pink cat's hand and leaving her the throne room. "Marcus, no!" Katie screamed. As she swirled around Katerina, once the last of the cat sisters were sealed in the necklace glowed brighter. Then a mysterious force caused Katerina to land hard on the wall next to Shadow the Hedgehog, briefly knocking her out. Meanwhile, back in Joseph's corridor, Sonic was nothing but a mourning loss of Lavinia as he hugged his sister's lifeless body. Just then he remembered what Taika was telling him the night before the journey. Her words were, "If her light is cut short, pray for me and Chaos and we'll be able to revive her." Sonic wiped away his tears and looked at Lucy with determination. "Lucy," he said, "do you know the words of the prayer to bring anyone back to life?" At first, Lucy was confused by what she just said, but she answered, "I do." "Good," Sonic said, "because I have an idea." Feeling confused on what the blue hedgehog was saying, Boken asked, "What is Sonic talking about?" Lucy walked towards Sonic and whispered the resurrection prayer to him. After a minute of memorizing the prayer, he took one of Lavinia's hands and held it tightly, and his eyes closed and bowed his head. Once he was prepared, Sonic began to recite the resurrection prayer. As he did, "Taika and Chaos above, hear my right. Please bring back Lavinia from the light. Center time is not yet night. Bring her back and let us reunite." At first nothing happened, and this confused the blue hedgehog to begin to feel that there was nothing left he can do. "Lavinia," he said, "I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. If I could have saved you from the wrath of your dad's ravening, Lavinia. I love you." Sonic leaned over and kissed Lavinia on her forehead. Just then there was a small light that began to grow brighter and brighter. By a second, Lucy was the first one to notice, then Boken, and finally Sonic. Before anyone knew, it was none other than Taika, the Echna, and her friend Chaos. Without saying a word, they went over to Sonic and Lavinia and closed in around them. They held each other's arms out as they reached out to Lavinia's body and began to glow. It was at this point when Sonic, Lucy, and Boken began to realize that Taika and Chaos were the ones to bring back the poor cat to life. Upon realizing this event, the blue hedgehog shed a tear before closing his eyes and gripping his sister's hand even tighter. The light was so bright that it caused Boken to hide behind Lucy's skirt and shield his eyes. Since she was already deceased, Lucy can only watch her firstborn daughter being resurrected. After a minute, a light began to dim as the resurrection came to an end. Sonic turned to look at Tekka and Chaos and said, "Thanks, you guys." They then bowed their heads after being thanked by the blue hedgehog before disappearing. In an instant, Lavinia opened her eyes and let out a quiet sigh. "So Sonic?" she asked. As soon as he heard his name being called, he turned his head and saw his sister alive once again. "Lavinia," he said. They instantly shared a long-awaited hug. While she was hugging him, Lavinia heard Sonic quietly sobbing. "Sonic?" she asked, checking on him. "Why are you crying?" Hearing this, the blue hedgehog wiped away his tears before saying, "No, of course not. I'm just so happy to see you again." They broke away from the hug and began to hold their hands tightly. "You sacrificed your life to save me?" Sonic asked. "Mm-hmm," Lavinia answered, nodding her head. "The last thing I wanted was to lose you from my father." He then placed a hand on her shoulder and said, "That's very brave of you, sis." She then smiled at her foster brother before they turned to see and look at Lucy and Boken, who had walked towards the duo. "Hi, Lavinia," the robot said. She then hugged him immediately, all while saying, "Hi, Boken. Welcome back, dear," Lucy said, helping her daughter up to her feet. "Thank you, Mother," Lavinia replied. They shared a mother and daughter hug, but while Sonic and Boken watched. Back at the throne room, after Katarina transformed back to her regular self, everything was quiet until Shadow changed back to normal and landed on the floor with his hands and knees, letting out a groan. Hearing this, Katarina slowly opened her eyes and saw that the black hedgehog was all flesh and blood again. "Shadow!" she called. She quickly crawled her way towards him and checked up on him. "Are you okay?" Katarina asked. "Yeah," Shadow answered. "And you?" Katarina immediately began to hug the ultimate life form, who hugged her in return. "It seems that you miss me," Shadow said. "You bet, Shadow," Katarina replied. "You bet." Once they broke away from the cat's feelings changed from happiness to sadness. "Shadow," she began, "I'm afraid I have some bad news." "What is it?" Shadow asked. "Lavinia is... Katarina tried to explain, but couldn't find the right words to say. "Is here," a voice called. They turned to see Lavinia entering the throne room with Sonic, Boken, and the Cat Queen. Seeing her sister alive and well, Katarina ran up towards her sister and hugged her tightly. "Lavinia!" she cried. "Hey, lil' sis," Lavinia greeted. Shadow watches the ultimate reunion of the sisters begin until she saw Sonic walking towards them. "What's up, Shadow?" Sonic greeted, all while reaching out a hand for a handshake. The ultimate life form hugged the hedgehog, who hugged him in return. "Well, it's well to see you again. The pain in the butt," Shadow said. "I agree, Faker," Sonic replied. During this time, Joseph got up from the floor after he was thrown down the stairs by his firstborn daughter. "Oh, my smarts," he groaned. He then rubbed the side of his face. Lucy slapped him while saying, "That wife of mine has no right to lay a hand on me." "I should have never guessed that you would be here, Your Highness," someone said. Joseph turned around to see Marcus, who just arrived from the throne room. "Marcus, where is Katie, Jessica, and Samantha?" Joseph asked. "I just saw him from being inside of Katarina's necklace," Marcus answered. "What?" Joseph gasped. "How is that possible?" Just then the Cat King remembered something. "Wait, how did Katarina escape?" he asked. I don't know, sire," Marcus said, shaking. "How in the world are we going to tell Dr. Eggman about this?" Joseph shouted. "Besides, he's coming this way." Marcus then stood there with his eyes opened, and when he's asked, "Dr. Eggman's coming?" "Yes, he is, you nitwit," Joseph snapped. "How are we going to report this to the doctor? He expects the doctors to be jailed and forced to work for me." "I have an idea," Marcus said. "What is it?" Joseph asked. "Maybe I could find Lucy and that robot to hold them hostage," Marcus explained. "So that way Lavinia and Katarina will have to come here, and we could capture them and bring them to the doctor." After a moment of silence, Joseph walked right-hand man to Marcus, he said, "That's brilliant." He immediately checked his watch before saying, "But we'll need to be quick about it." They ran down the stairs, hoping to find the Cat Queen and Boken to use them as bait for his daughters.